Hello and welcome to another Sunday edition of Wardy's Waffle Farm Update. Hope you've had a fantastic couple of days for the Queen's Jubilee celebrations. I'm a real royalist. I think the Queen does a fantastic job, and when you see the spectacle of what they put on in London and the household cavalry and all the fly pasts, it's just brilliant at what we can do. Anyway, on to this week's update. We spray the brome off. If you remember, I've got a couple of patches of brome in some fields that I decided to spray off with glyphosate, so I'm in the cab with Ruben looking at that, and we're doing that. And I also spray off a wildflower area very near to this plot as well that needs doing, so we'll look at that. Also, we've got some black grass in some sugar beet that needs doing, and it ought to have been done a bit sooner, but we couldn't because of the herbicides that were put on earlier, so it's always a bit tricky with black grass, so we look at that. And also we take a delivery or some deliveries of nitrogen this last week, and this is nitrogen that was ordered a year ago for the crop that we've just finished. So typical example, this wheat next to me, so it was a crop, some nitrogen that should have been on this year, but because of doing the N-min soil tests and also using the N-tester, with the crops didn't need as much as I thought they would need, which is great. So, but we're obviously going to take it, we're going to put it into stock, because obviously it's been bought at a lot lower price than what we've been buying for this next year. And also lastly, we spray the field of sugar beet on the heath again on the light land. It's the last application herbicide for broadleaf weeds. With the last few rains, there's actually been a fresh flush of the weeds, and I wanted to get on a bit sooner, but because of the rains I wasn't able to do this week, but finally got on yesterday to get those done, so we'll have a look at that. Anyway, without further ado from me, please come back with any questions, click like and subscribe as always, and the bell sound to alert you when I post any more videos. And here we go. I'm in the cab now with Ruben, and you can see the light coloured ears of the brome and the big patch up there. So we are going to have to spray this big patch out and put some of the nozzles on and some not. So we can manually select the sections in here. So the red ones mean they're off. The 16 sections on this sprayer, the green are on. So we don't want to spray the left hand side at the minute because the brome there could be pulled. Then across here we need to switch some of those on. So that's spraying that now to kill this brome, and of course it will kill the crop. If you look at that, just full there. The left hand side isn't on. Now Ruben, start to put it on near the sprayer, please. That's it, that'll do that. Now off on the left, that's it. What do you think there? Can you pull that? Yeah, that's it. So I'll come back and have a look at that in a couple of weeks' time and see what it looks like. But we've still got brome here, but we can pull that. So I've got out the cab now. When you look down here, this is in the tram lines, just full. So all this will be killed off. The wheat's a bit thin here as well because of the dry spring. But when you look at the brome, just full. So I'll just move out the way here. But yeah, you can just see where there isn't a crop here, how much there is in this tram line. So Ruben's going to have all the left side on, that's this side, and then you can see now that's on, so that is killing that. Only up to the first yellow mark on the boom. Now he's gone on to the second yellow mark, and that's what we have those yellow tapes on for, because that's where the sections are on the sprayer. I'll move out the way. We can see now here, volume of brome here. That's it, it's spraying all of it now. So here's this other patch now we need to finish off. But it's not so bad that side. always a bit of a job just deciding and actually remembering which section to put on when you're doing it manually, when you're used to relying on GPS. That's the sections on the screen that we've done from the previous breed, the light colours. That's alright, Ruben, yeah. So remember, this is glyphosate we're putting on, so it will kill the crop, but the important thing is it will stop the brome from seeding. Just looking at Nala, it's fascinating how she's starting to lighten up already. Her head's lightening up there with the brown ears and the top, this silvery bit above her eyes, and then underneath here as well, and then all underneath her tummy. This was all jet black when she was a few weeks old, but it's she's lightening up, which is great. Good girl, ain't you? But these ears hopefully will soon sit up, but she's teething at the minute, and that's why they're down apparently. Nala, good girl. Lovely dog. This is one of the footpaths Tom sprayed out about a month ago, and if you can see, we actually use the tram line so it takes up some of the width. Rather than spraying a metre out of crop, we've actually used part of the wheeling where the sprayer runs, so we haven't lost so much crop. But yeah, it comes right through the middle of this field. We haven't sprayed obviously this grass margin off through here and into this field, which is one of our neighbours, but it's one that we contract farm. That denotes it's a footpath, and Tom has sprayed through here. Just see the wheelings, but the glyphosate hasn't had time to take effect yet, but another week and it will do. And you can just see the footbridge in the distance there that goes across quite a big dike. So this is one of our little wildflower areas. It's not in the countryside stewardship scheme, but it will be this next year, because we're just about to start a new scheme in end of the year, which I'll talk about in a few weeks time. But this is just 0.4 of a hectare here, so it's 1 acre, very narrow. It's only about 18 metres, 20 metres wide, but it does straighten this field off nicely. You can see there in the distance, so it's straight there. There's the beet pad where the bales are, and my discovery is where we put the sugar beet from that field. We'll have a look at in a minute. Here's Nala. It's a bit tall for her. So yeah, what we're doing here, this was specially planted with a mixture of some grasses and wildflowers, but the grasses have taken over, and we did cut it 2 or 3 times last year to try and knock them back, but it hasn't worked. So we've actually sprayed it this morning. Here's the wheel I'm walking down. We sprayed it this morning with a graminicide to try and control the grasses. We maybe ought to have been in here a couple of weeks early. You can just see the seed heads on here now starting to form, but hopefully we've got it soon enough. Got some nice flowers all coming out in bud. So there are some flowers in here. Got some clovers in the bottom, yeah. Yeah, some nice flowers here, but we just need a bit more. So hopefully these will all die off. We've got some docks here which won't die off, unfortunately. So probably going to have to just come along here with a knapsack and just do those by hand. Yeah, quite a few docks just in this area, just there. But yeah, hopefully this lot will just die back. The grasses will die back, and then we'll come back in here and put some more flowers in. Try and get the flower content here a bit thicker. But we'll see how it goes in a few weeks and see if these grasses die off. Just looking in this wheat next to this little wildflower plot. Again, you can see how it really has gone thin. When you look down in it there, the dry weather, the dry April, we only had 6 millimetres in the whole of April. It really has taken effect on this light land. You can see the stone and things that you see with the soil type. But yeah, these plants are really struggling. When you pull that up and look at that, that won't come to much, that won't come to much. So on this plant, we're only going to have 2 really ears of wheat, maybe 3. And then look at the top here, the length of the ear again. Thanks, Nala. The length of the ear here is really short. So instead of having the normal sort of 60 to 80 grains on, we're going to be less than that. Just starting to flower now. You can just see the flowers starting, the white flowers. Just find one in the sun that you can see. There. So it'll be wanting its ear fungicide in another probably week to 10 days, which is really early, really early. But yeah, I think we're going to be having a fairly average harvest here. I can't see any records being broken. I think we're going to be in for just a fairly average time, so thank goodness prices are where they are. My flower identification isn't great, but I do know that's an oxeye daisy, and there's another one there. So there's quite a few here, but there are some other plants poking up. There's about 5 or 6 different species in here altogether. There's some red clover, I do know that is. One thing here, you can see a bare patch in this sugar beet field. If you remember, a few months ago we had some sewage sludge there, and that's where it was piled from last summer, and you can just see the nutrients going into the soil. It doesn't like it at all, the crops. It's really, really rich, and very often the first year we don't get anything, any crop growing. You can just see in the distance that light patch below those trees in the field in front of me. That's where the brome is that we've sprayed off, so we'll keep an eye on that, and I'll come back to that in a week or two so you can see the glyphosate and the effect it's had. Lots of birds singing in these trees here. Chaffinch there on the wires making that noise. I'm just in one of our heavyland sugar beet fields now, where we have blackgrass down here, but due to a lot of things we've done over the last few years, we are controlling it and managing it, and it's a hell of a lot better than it was. But this particular field has got some N still, and sugar beet's not a great crop because of the open ground and the lack of competition. So we're just putting the graminicide on now, Centurion Max, to actually control this blackgrass. So we'll just have a look at that. Just stood on this public footpath now that Tom sprayed out with the Polaris. You can just see we spray through it all. So yeah, this public footpath goes right through the middle of about 5 fields. And remember, it goes from church to church. There's a church spire on that hilltop there, and it goes across to that village there where that church spire is. These were all put in before cars were invented, yet we still have to adhere and comply with all regulations. If we don't keep the crop clear, or rather clear the crop and keep the footpath clear, then we can get fined and prosecuted for it. Just looking at blackgrass, you can see now some big plants here, and this is why we need to control it. That's blackgrass, and quite a few just in this area there. And underneath that leaf, if you look at that, you can't see it. Yeah, move that leaf and hey presto, there's the blackgrass. So we're actually we're using some forward and back angled nozzles, and I'll show those in a minute close up. You can see there are lots of blackgrass in this area. This is why it needs doing. It's been a problem this area for a few years, but we've stopped it seeding for the last 7 years, but it still keeps coming. There must be a huge amount of seed in the soil. You see more there, sheltering underneath that leaf as well there. You can't see when you look from above. Thank you, Nala. As always, she always has a habit of, wherever I'm trying to show you something, coming in and saying, here I am. Yeah, more blackgrass under that leaf. So yeah, and quite a bit just in this area. See, the sprayer boom's not level. It's lower behind the wheels. We need to get it calibrated and lower this end so it sits a lot leveler. It's a bit gull wing shaped at the minute. Yes, Frankie, I know. So looking at these nozzles, you can just see in a second there how they're forward and back there, and that really does give a lot better coverage than straight down nozzles that you normally have. Spotted this ladybird, which is fantastic because he'll be mopping up any aphids there are. Brilliant. Just looking down one of the hedges where Tom has sprayed off this little strip next to the crop with the Polaris 10 days ago, that side, and then also just down that side, and taken out the brome, patch of brome in that corner there. Nice little strip all the way up the field, trying to stop the brome from seeding. We've just had a big rainstorm, so what better opportunity than just to clear some of the yard. So Tom's just got the brush on the Manitou while it's wet. We've had this gutter overflow as well this morning, and problem is I think there's not enough fall on it. That's some of the main trouble. We've got a rainwater tank here, 16,000 litre tank, but we're going to have a change here because it's got a proper filter type thing on it at the top, you can see up there. But the trouble is there's too much water, misses it or washes over the filter and drops down this pipe and drops down into the drain. We don't capture enough, and I don't like these systems. There's water flushes over it and to clean it, and then it goes down the drain, so we don't capture. I think we capture less than half of it in the tank. We've had quite a bit of rain in the last 2 or 3 days. Behind me I've got a field of grass that we normally cut for haylage. It's about, I think, about 9 acres, but it's interesting that it's starting to go down a bit now with the weather. You can see a bit taffled about, but I'll just turn the camera around and look up closely at it. You'll see it's just starting to seed. Yeah, the weather's just pushing it down a bit, but you can see the seed heads here now and all over really when you look. But good job I didn't do it and get it cut at the end of last week. I had wondered about it because of the rain we've just had. You can see an area there that just missed the liquid nitrogen, missed the fertilizer. It had 100 kilograms a hectare of nitrogen, probably early April I think it was, and you can just see the effect it's had. But yeah, it should be a good crop here, nice and thick when you look, but we just need some fine weather, and we'll hopefully get this done next week after the bank holiday weekend. Hopefully the weather will settle down. We've got another 15 acres at the main farm, and then 2 little paddocks to do, and this is just for local horse people. So just coming in the farm, just opening the gate. This is one of the other little fields of haylage we've got, one of the small paddocks, about 3 acres there, that's all. And then driving through the yard, got some haylage there left from last year for horse people, and I suppose livestock as well as any left. And then going out through the yard, got another little paddock on the right, but this one's got some cow parsley or kecklocks in it, so we'll still do that, but that will end up going for livestock. Next winter I'll send it up to some of my pals up in Cumbria. And then on the left, this is our other field. Cock pheasant just here, just gone in the grass. This is our other one, and this is 13 acres, so we've about 26 acres altogether. Got flower margin down the side here, and then 2 or 3 docks here. Just want cutting before we do this, but yeah, we'll get these done next week. Just had an Omex fertilizer lorry roll up in the yard to put some more into the tanks. This is leftover order from this year, but of course I managed to buy this really cheaply last year. I think I paid £305 a tonne for this, but just remember this is 30% nitrogen, not 34.5. So it'll just be a bit more if you sort of work the calculation out. But I'm going to carry this over into next year, but obviously this will need paying for straight away. So that is a slight drawback, that what we're going in the tanks now will not be used until next March. But the price it is, obviously, it's less than half price of what it is today, maybe even 2.5 times cheaper. So we'll just have a look round. We're going to get the forklift up so we can actually see the driver pumping it into the tank, and get to the top of the tank with the forklift just to make sure we don't overflow it. So these tanks hold 50,000 litres in each. So with the bulk density, with fertiliser weighing a lot more than water, I think it's about 1.3 the ratio. So 1,000 litres of water weighs 1 tonne, whereas 1,000 litres of fertiliser weighs about 1.3 tonnes. So I think each of these tanks have about 70 tonnes of fertiliser in them. But obviously, as I say, we're just not going to use this till next year. So Dave's just getting ready to pump it into the tanks. We've got the bunge around here to hold any of the fertiliser. If it's spilled, it's all sealed. It's all regulations to do this. So we have this bund in, and we'll get the forklift out now, and then just check that we're not going to overflow these tanks and fill them as much as we can. So Tom's lifting me up in the cage here to see We're going to see how full that tank is. You can see the level of that one now, where that line is. And Dave thought this one was between the 45 and the 50 mark. So we'll... bit more. That's it. So we'll lift this, see if we can see. Yeah, it is. It's, you can see in the tank there. It is down here somewhere. Yeah. Yeah. Good view from up here. That's one of the other haylage little paddocks that we've got to do that you saw about earlier. That's this tank full. You can just see that moving. He's just emptying his pipe now using the air brakes on the lorry, same as we do on our Bowser. And then he'll be going into that one there, the other tank. So this one is full. 50,000 litres is there, but it's actually up to about there, I think, which is good. So 50,000 litres is 65 tonnes, I've just worked out. So that's what will be in this tank now. So we're just now going to go on to this other one, and there's the level. You can just see near the sticker. So just going to put this stick in the tank till it touches the liquid, which is there, and then hold that above the top of the thing, which is there, so the stick's about on that seam. So that is where this tank is full to now, to there. And if we measure that, we are to the 50,000 mark, 8 centimetres to that mark. For 13.5 centimetres is 1,000 litres of this tank. So we're 8 centimetres above the 50,000 litre mark, which means with an extra roughly 600 litres in. So that one tank has 50,600 litres in. So we're now onto this middle tank to fill that up as much as we can. Dave, the driver here, has been quite a few times, so we know him well. You were just saying, Dave, about fertiliser into Ipswich. This tank, this load, you've come from Ipswich.
That's right.
We've got Bardney is only, like the main office is only half an hour away. How come it's come from Ipswich?
Well, at the moment they're low on product at Bardney, so they're taking other products down to Ipswich so they can mix other products.
Yeah.
You know.
So you took something down, did you?
I've taken something down, tipped that, and then I've reloaded your load, which is 30% nitrogen, and brought that up here because they've got more stock of nitrogen than what Bardney has.
Right.
Bardney still has some, but not a lot.
And so has there a boat come in Ipswich then recently?
As far as I know, they've had a boat recently.
Yeah.
And there's another boat due at the end of June.
So this will be a boat of what? Urea?
Urea, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And any idea which country from?
I would say Latvia or Lithuania, somewhere like that. It's a Baltic country, as far as I know.
Yeah. And then that will be mixed down in Ipswich there. And what other products can they mix down there?
Oh, they can mix runway de-icer down there.
Crikey.
Yeah.
And sulphur?
They make sulphur up there themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's made at the top, and then it's gravity fed down.
Yeah.
Don't have to pump it. They can pump it.
Yeah.
Don't have to.
No. And then your next job now, off back to Bardney?
Off back to Bardney, load up with 24%.
Yeah.
And go out to near Skegness, Staples.
Yeah. Right. Well, that's it. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thanks very much. We've got those two full, so we'll see where we are when we get this one full.
Yeah. No
Brilliant.
problem.
Thanks, Dave. Beauty of having this 9.5 metre forklift, triple stage boom. Take this tube out. There should be a tennis ball in here, but obviously it's not tennis ball, sorry, a table tennis ball. So it comes up the tube so they know when the tank's nearly full. The air pressure in the tank, because of the seal there, the seal around there, the air pressure pushes the table tennis ball up so the driver knows when it's nearly full. But it's come out and it's discoloured anyway, so we need some new ones of these. Anyway, we'll have a look in here. You can just see the cable tie-ons floating on top there. So that one's full enough now. Just stop the engine. Dave's just putting the air valve on to take air from the brakes to empty the pipe. And feel the air coming up. It'll start to bubble in a minute. There we go. That's the air pushing the fertiliser out the pipe and into the tank here. We can see the level of this one. That's there. So if we look at that, that's 7 centimetres above the 50. The pipe rather, is now coupled onto the last tank. You can see the level there, right down there. So Dave's just started the engine. I'm going to come down now, because all this will easily go in there, then we'll see what's left. I mean, when I say all this, I mean the rest of what's in that tanker will easily hold it in there, and then we'll have to order some more to fill the tank right to the top. But it'll still be at this year's price, which is great. Just talking to Dave about weights and how many litres and tonnes this will carry. This, Dave, is not purpose made for fertiliser. It was another trailer or tanker for something else.
Yeah, it was for foodstuffs. So, I mean, foodstuffs are lighter than water. Yeah. And you can carry up to 32,000 litres of foodstuffs in it. Right. Yeah. However, fertiliser, you're limited to 28 tonne. So when you do your specific gravity on your litrage, that works out how many litres you can put in for 28 tonnes. Yeah. Like your load is just under 22,000 litres for 28 tonnes. For 28 tonnes. The whole unit and the trailer together will be 44 tonne. When you're that's the maximum weight, isn't it? That's the maximum I can carry. So for those viewers who are watching in other countries, in the UK, our maximum weight allowed on our roads is 44 tonnes, unless there's a weight restriction sign on which there are on some roads or bridges. But 44 tonnes on main dual carriageways, motorways, A roads is where we're allowed to be. So that's why Dave's only allowed to carry 22,000 litres, which is 28 tonnes in this trailer, in this tanker, even though it will hold a lot more. You're saying you have had water in it before? I've had water in it where I've had 28,000 litres, because 1 litre of water, or 1 tonne of water is 1,000 litres, so I can have 28,000 litres of water on. Yeah, brilliant, great, thanks Dave, interesting. Dave's just now letting the air come in from the air brakes to push this fertiliser out of the pipe to make it easier to handle. There we go, that's emptying it. That's it, job done, Dave. Job done. Always a pleasure. And steps we've made getting in there, especially for you. Look at that. Exactly. I'm waiting for the lift. Then we have a drip tray as well. I'm sure Sten will do a stair lift for this. Yes, I think so. That's it, that's the air out the pipe. That just keeps the drips, and when we next putting it on, we'll use that so we don't waste it. So that's inside this bund, so it's all sealed if a tank bursts. The thing to point out, these tanks, you might see that wire strap and the bolt through the concrete. When the tanks are empty, which obviously they do get empty sometimes, and we get high winds here, they could easily blow over. So I think there's about 4 or 5 on each tank bolted to the ground like that. That one there, so it just secures them. And then, clever how it's made, that bolt does not go all the way through the tank, otherwise it would leak around that bolt hole. It just goes through into the outer skin, but really clever way, and it does work. Got a bit of felt there that they sit the tanks on, so that the concrete, if there's any pebbles or any bit of roughness there, it doesn't pierce the tank. We've had these tanks in here now probably 4 years, maybe 5 years at the most, and no problems with them at all. That's it, Dave's off now, back to do his other job, to go to Skegness. The sugar beet on the light land again. This is the 3rd herbicide. It should have been done a few days ago, but because of all the showers and the weather we've had this week, haven't been able to do it, and the weeds here are just a bit bigger than what I would have liked, so that's just a slight issue. But going across this field, it's like one of those little nodding dogs you used to see on the back of a car shelf. We've done this field the opposite way onto normal because of the beet pad position. I'll just turn the camera around and show you. The concrete beet area where we store the sugar beet is there, so of course
we need to drill the field this way on, so it ends up easy for the trailers to get to the concrete area. I'm just turning in the, we'll just turn, I'll try and do it one-handed. You might, don't know whether you can see on the screen, a bit too much reflection. That's the problem with this screen, it's always reflecting on you. The green area is the area where I've sprayed around the outside. Now you can see I'm turning up the field. You can see on the screen there the red line, now blue, is where I'm going to be going on. So that's started it, you can see from there, and just click, that's it, on auto steer there. We don't, on this one there's a foot pedal on the floor to connect for the auto steer. It doesn't always activate, so it's easy to do with the screen, but hopefully on the next sprayer when we get it we'll have one on the joystick to activate the auto steer. So yeah, you can see there coming out. Got good herbicide mix, but I'm not sure it will do this, we shall have to see. But yeah, so when we harvest this field, we're going to harvest it in 2 halves. It's 55 acres, so we'll lift half of it, which will be that half possibly first, and then we shall leave this half, and that's why it's much easier drilling it this way on up and down the headland, so that the beet pad behind us, the concrete area, is at the ends of the field where the trailers come out. Whereas if we planted it this way on, which is the normal way we'll do it if we have cereals, the trailers will end up at the road end there, then I've got to run all the way right down the field and round and come back. So this is the best way of doing it. Lovely day here. It's Thursday, the bank holiday. It's about 19-20 degrees and just no wind, 4 miles an hour, so it's perfect for spraying. To explain why it is rough, when we cultivated it this way on the field, which is the normal way. Tom did it, but Tom's only been with us since July last year, and I didn't tell him that we plant the sugar beet this way on, which means we'd normally have worked it this way. So a bit of a miscommunication from on my part to ask Tom to do it this way, otherwise we'd have cultivated it this way. But yeah, just looking at here, we're on auto steer, and we are only spraying, sorry I can't keep it still because it's so rough, 12.5 kilometres an hour. You can see the top figure, and the middle one is 175 litres per hectare. That's how much total volume we're putting on, that's water plus product. So that's round about, with the volume of chemical we're putting in, it's round about 170 litres a hectare of water. And we're using forward and back angled nozzles to get maximum coverage on the weeds, and it's sort of medium spray. I've just come to empty out on a small patch of weeds in one of our sugar beet fields on the heavier ground, and just look at the difference, how much better it is, because the soil type's stronger. It got away earlier when the moisture was there, and it's not suffered from the dry April and May. Looking really good, this is. And this will be the first field we harvest, I think, which will be towards the end of September or when your factory opens. And then this area of concrete in front is where we'll put it when we harvest it. Should be able to get all 30 acres of this field on that concrete. Just see there the footpath that we've had to spray out across the field. Remember, if we don't do that, we can get prosecuted. To allow the public across here, an ancient law regulation in the UK, for those of you who are watching this in other countries. That's just a pile of wood chip on there that we're gradually using on gardens and areas like that. Of weeds that I've just sprayed down here and down this headland and washed out in this field. It's just when you start this field in the corner here, just the sprayer hasn't quite got the full rate till we get up the field, so I just need to change how we do that. To see our wheats, no black grass. That was a bad field years ago. We've got odd fields, we've got a little bit in, but pleasing to see that all the years of our hard work, the last 9 years, of zero tolerance of blackgrass is finally paying off. A year where there is a lot dotted around the country and we are still virtually blackgrass free apart from 2 or 3 fields. So that's it for this week. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it. Please come back to me with any questions. Click like and subscribe and the bell sound to alert you to when I post any videos, and we'll see you again very soon.